I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
We have such sights to show you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
I guess I was probably returning videotapes.
I am big. It's the picture that got small. Who cares?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Movie Roulette Tuesday podcast. This is Matt.
And this is Rachel.
This is Carl.
And this
is CNN.
No, it is not.
Where's James Earl Jones?
More truth is told here than on CNN. But, no, this is the first episode of the new theme cycle.
Yes, the mystical themesicle.
Oh, yummy.
Delicious.
Oh, I hate that word. Yummy.
I don't know why I use it all the time.
That's a punchable word.
Listen.
What?
He hasn't hit me yet, so you feel free. Feel comfortable.
Do you have a problem with moist, too?
No, not as much as other people seem to have it. I mean, it's just a word, but the word yummy, like no full-grown adult anything should use the word yummy.
That's yummy.
That's just my...
Same thing with tummy, I would imagine.
Yeah, my tummy hurts. Or I have to go potty. Like,
no, I don't say those things.
Up.
But yummy. That's yummy.
Sorry.
Wow.
Pet peas.
Really?
I got
Coming out aggressive.
This has nothing to do with the theme.
No.
Okay, the themesicle.
The themesicle.
Which is yummy.
Is, as we picked last week, is you're driving too fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're driving too fast. Now, I went all over the place.
Did you drive to get there?
I didn't drive, but mentally.
Yes.
Like lightning. Speed of light.
Okay.
Thought of all these things. No. It was hard because the last theme, I wasn't that on the nose with "You're My Best Friend."
You made it work. You made the connections.
I tried to make it work, but you know, "War is Hell."
Yeah, you got that one.
I tried to be so. The first things I thought of about this theme are, of course, movies dealing with cars and driving and whatever. Mm-hmm. Gran Turismo was one that I thought...
about the video game kids?
Yeah.
That's a new one. Yeah.
So that's a newer one where, if you don't know anything about it, it's a video game, but it's very popular to be used as a driving simulator for some people, for kids who don't have access to, real vehicles. And they had a contest that if you beat this game or made these times on these laps, you could qualify to drive a real race car. And this actually happened, and people actually went through, driver boot camp and did all this stuff. It seemed like an interesting movie.
David Harbour's in it.
Mm-hmm. He is, and what's his name?
I don't know.
From the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Legolas?
Legolas. Yeah, he's in it.
Orlando
Bloom.
Orlando Bloom.
So that was one.
Okay.
Rush was another one. And that has...
Salesman!
Yeah. Not about a salesman. It's about race car drivers, too. And it has Thor. Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. The Hemsworth boy.
And other people
Man.
Are in it, too. It's a movie that's more about the drivers themselves. It doesn't really focus on...
the driving.
Right. I mean, that's part of it, but not really.
Okay.
Others, like classics, like Le Mans was one that has Steve McQueen.
I love Steve McQueen. One of his
movies from 1971.
Ooh.
That one, I wanted to watch that, but same thing with Grand Prix, which is from the 60s, 66. Very focused on just the driving elements, what it's like to drive a car in these types of scenarios. The one that I tried the hardest to watch, and I guess I'm glad I didn't pick this because you guys would be bored out of your minds. It's a documentary called Senna, and it's not about the laxative. Although I think it's funny that one of the fastest F1 drivers shares the same name as
An
a
effective
laxative that
laxative?
makes you go
Yeah.
quickly.
Clears your system super
Yeah.
fast.
Senna, it came out in 2010. It used to be everywhere. You could watch it on all these platforms, and all of a sudden it's now vanished. You can't get it anywhere.
Right.
It's even hard to buy a Blu-ray DVD or a Blu-ray of the film. But it's about Ayrton Senna, who's a Brazilian F1 or was one of the best F1 drivers that ever lived, and he died at the age of 34 in a terrible crash.
Oh, great.
During one of the races. Well, F1, you're
I know.
going
It's
something to see.
He died as he lived.
quickly. Taking it to kind of the next level, I was like, all right, well, cars are one thing. What else can you drive or pilot too fast?
Submarine.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's not what came to my mind, though. The Right Stuff came to my mind. Another great movie. It's longer than Carl's tolerance
See that?
for films at 3 hours and 13 minutes.
Oh, clocks in too long. Did we see that movie?
I've seen this movie.
Well, who's in this?
I can guarantee that you have not. Scott Glenn is in it as Alan Shepard.
Oh, this is the space
Dennis Quaid,
movie.
Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Sam Shepard plays Chuck Yeager.
Okay.
And it's about the space race, about developing the skills and technology required to make it to space. And,
Okay.
you know, Chuck Yeager was a famous test pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you're really pushing these boundaries
Right.
of speed.
And equipment.
And of, you know, human capability to stay conscious and,
Yeah.
you know, fight against the elements in these things. And that's kind of what led me. I thought about other ones too, like the movie Speed and other things. But The Right Stuff, when I was thinking about that, about it pushing the boundaries, it's like, well, that's what driving too fast kind of is, right?
Yeah,
You're
yep.
kind of pushing the boundaries of what you can do, whether it's you or a car or whatever. And that led me to look at other options. Anyway, long story short, the film we're watching tonight is the 2014 film Whiplash.
So it's 10 years old, this film.
It is this year, directed by Damien Chazelle.
Chazelle.
And
quite the name.
yeah, there's no connection in the film to driving at all. However,
Internal and external drive.
you can take it metaphorically
Yeah.
and think of it as, you know, you're pushing your limits and what consequences come with it. And you know, Whiplash, it's about this young jazz drummer and this intense relationship that he has with this ruthless instructor, and the instructor's trying to push him beyond his limits, both physically and mentally. It shows the cost of ambition, the drive to perfection, and that's kind of how I looped it into this theme.
Okay.
That works.
I buy that.
Well,
I have accepted
I'm glad
that.
you do, because that's what we're watching. But I don't have much to talk about in terms of the film itself. Like, it's been on my list. I keep seeing it come up and talked about by people whose opinions I respect, saying, you know, you should probably watch this. It's worthwhile. You're not going to come away from it like you wasted your time.
Okay.
A little bit of backstory. It's 19-year-old Andrew Neiman. He wants to be the greatest jazz drummer in the world.
He wants to be.
He wants to be.
Okay. That's important to know.
In league with Buddy Rich. I guess that's one of his idols.
All right.
This goal is despite not coming from a pedigree of, you know, a great pedigree, musically or otherwise. With Jim, his high school teacher father, who was a failed writer. So he's not, you know, coming out of Juilliard or you know, anything like that. Andrew is starting his first year at Schaefer Conservatory of Music, the best music school in the United States. So I guess kind of like Juilliard, but
Okay.
not really.
Yeah.
At Schaefer, being the best means being accepted to study under Terrence Fletcher, who's played by
J.K. Simmons?
J.K.
Yes.
Simmons. Thank you. You serious? Being the best means being accepted to study under his tutelage and asked to play in his studio band, which represents the school at jazz competitions. They don't have a good first meeting, so Andrew's surprised when asked to join the band, albeit in an alternate position. And he quickly learns that a lot goes along with joining this band. The teacher operates on fear and intimidation to motivate people, and never settles for what he considers less than what
perfection.
he can do, less than perfection, less than what this person's capable of. Trying to squeeze every bit out of him. So, I don't know. It seems like an interesting film. I like the drums.
I like the drums. Are you going to like the drums after this movie? It's going to be a lot of drums.
A lot of drums.
A lot of drumming.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about drums?
I like the drums.
I think the
They
drums.
played well.
I mean, I am the drummer in our rock band.
That's true.
Band.
You are, Carl. So you better like the drums.
Did you like the drums? Did you ever think of playing the drums like beyond just doing the pads?
It was funny though, because when Rock Band came out, it's like obviously playing the guitar in the Rock Band game, you're not learning how to like, other than maybe making your fingers more dexterous.
Yep.
Like you're not actually learning to play guitar. I feel like the drums on Rock Band, I wouldn't say you're learning to play the drums, but I do think that that's probably the closest to playing the real instrument that
sure,
you get out of those things.
Sure.
In a basic way.
Right.
Yeah. I could see
Hand-eye
that.
coordination, coordinating the foot pedal, the
Getting
bass
the rhythm
pedal,
right.
with the, especially when they came out with the deluxe one that had the cymbals that you could attach to it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's true.
But no, I never thought to go past.
Didn't you get? Oh my gosh! It wasn't Rock Band. It was
I got Rocksmith.
Rocksmith. That's right. And that
Now,
was
that one teaches you to play the guitar because you're literally, you get an actual guitar and you plug it into the PlayStation.
right.
Weird.
But it's a real. I mean, Rachel, you played it.
Did I?
I think at some point.
Maybe I tried it.
I feel like you tried
Yeah.
it. So I have an actual guitar that came with the game and it
but
had
it has like sensors. I don't remember very well.
It's a real guitar that you plug into the PlayStation
and it just gets the tones.
Right. So it
So you
teaches
can
you how
tell.
to tune.
Yeah,
It can
okay.
sense it can detect the the notes, and they would have you had real songs you could play along to, and it was similar to Rock Band where you had difficulty levels. But then they also had games where I remember there was one where it was like a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
But to shoot the gun, you had to hit certain chords,
Okay.
like on the guitar.
Okay.
The guitar gun.
Did you learn how to play the guitar at all?
I mean, the if I had stuck with it, I feel like I could have gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily teaching you how to read sheet music necessarily.
No, that's unnecessary.
Most of the time with the guitar, it's just tab anyway.
Yeah.
You're not, unless you're a classical guitarist, you're not reading sheet music.
Yeah.
But
it was fun.
well,
It
it
was
lasted.
fun. But it's just I don't know that I had the patience or the desire to spend as much time with it as I would have needed to actually get to the point where I could play.
Interesting.
I mean, when I was a kid, I took guitar lessons.
Did you?
Yeah,
How did those
from
go?
my cousin. I mean, they went okay, but I ended up stopping because the other kids that were there would make fun of me about my weight.
Why were there? First of all, why weren't the kids focused on the guitar? And why were there more that you didn't have like a one-on-one lesson?
Yeah,
No, I guess not. All right.
but
But I
yeah.
find most people give up with instruments because it's hard. It's harder than people think it is, and then you have to practice. You have to want to do it.
Yeah, my wife's a music. I mean, other than
She's
being a
a
professional musician,
yeah.
she's a music teacher too. Mm-hmm. And I always talk to her about it because she has these kids that she'll give lessons to from the time, as early as like 4 years old through high school.
Yeah.
But then as soon as they graduate high school, they're done. They're like, they don't, because they don't want to go into it professionally, which she always says, I would never urge somebody to do this professionally because it's not steady income. You're self-employed.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, how could they spend so much time and money on all of these lessons just to drop it as soon as they get into college?
Then kids want to move on and do something else, or there's no further to go without becoming professional. Or you could, our daughter plays the cello. She's been playing since she was in fourth grade, and now she's a junior in high school, and she's excellent, and we gave her private lessons, but it's the same scenario. I can't foresee her. She's not going to be a professional musician. I would never encourage her to do that. I just wouldn't. And even her cello teachers said she's my best student, but she doesn't have to keep doing this unless she's going to do it professionally. You get to a point where, especially if she doesn't want to do it. But I kind of I think it'd be cool, wherever she goes to college, they could have an ensemble or an orchestra.
Right, or join a local quartet.
Yeah.
Or just I'm not saying that has to be your profession, but at the same time, when you're that good at something that you spent that much time with, it just seems like a waste to me to just stop once you're up to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just do it for yourself.
Well,
I mean, you were going to be a professional musician. You were going to go to conservatory for voice.
Oh my God.
And now, I mean, you used to sing.
I sing all the time.
Okay, what happens on a regular basis is not you singing.
Yes, it is.
You sound like Linda Belcher from Bob's Burgers more than you do someone who was going to do this for their profession.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm saying there's a difference.
Yeah.
The former doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, but the reason I don't do it is because I don't have the drive of this kid in the movie to be the best. Or I think you have to be a musician. That's part of it. It's
you have to have intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Not only that,
I want to do this.
You need that, but you also need the venue, the opportunity. You're not just going to go record vocals for something at random. You would need to go have someone ask you to perform in an event or a wedding.
Right.
You would need to, sit in on a recording
Unless I
session.
join a
choir, which you don't. You're not
that.
A choir voice. You're a solo voice.
I could be a choir voice.
Yeah, of course you
Tell
could.
me what I can't.
Saying you're superior to that.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
But you are.
Oh, all right.
Same thing with Torrin. She plays the cello. It's not like a guitar. I mean, she plays other instruments too, but that's what she's, the most proficient in, I think. And that's what she plays all the time at school. Once that opportunity is over, she's not going to pick up the cello and play it in her room,
I guess. I don't know.
It's a shame, I think.
I like music. I like music, my own musical talent for my own enjoyment. I don't have the urge or the need or the want to share it with other people because it stresses,
which is odd for a vocalist.
Stresses me out.
Yeah.
Stresses me out. Glad I became a
Well, yeah,
nurse.
because the vocalist is usually the center of attention.
Right, it's look at me. But
do you guys think that? I feel like musical ability, like artistic ability, and I guess musical ability and artistic ability could be,
Music is
related.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are more born with that ability than can learn it?
I think there's some innateness. I think there's some raw talent that you are born with, for sure. I do.
I feel like people are just born with an aptitude for those things.
Yes, but I also think that there comes a point where, unless you're a musical savant, like a genius, like Mozart, but even he had lessons. You have to shape and craft it and practice it. It's still something that you need to work on and get better at.
Yeah, it's a skill. It's not a trait,
Just like a sports ball person,
An athlete?
Yes. No, the sports
That's not a hard word there, Biden.
Those gold net bat people.
You know the thing. Sports ball people.
Doing things.
But they, people are born with an athletic aptitude.
Right.
And then...
But that's biological. You have a musculoskeletal system that lends itself to whatever sport.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just musculoskeletal. I think it's also brain wiring. Just like music. I think it's brain wiring.
Both of our kids have perfect pitch.
Yeah, I did too when I was younger, but it's gone now.
But like I never did, and I never knew you'd have perfect pitch.
I did. When I was their age, I totally did. I'd be
Okay.
like, that's an A.
Do you think that that's biological? Or
I
do
don't
you
know.
think that it's because of the environment that they grew up in? You know, is it nature or nurture kind of thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they have really good. They can differentiate tones, but I also think that they have been around music their entire lives and played music their entire lives. They're both very musical.
Yeah.
So I think that, they're like, I know what an A sounds like. I know the frequency, I can hear it, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were also musical. Your parents were musical.
Yep. Yeah. I think it runs in the family. Just like art runs in the family, or sports ball runs in the family, or,
Yeah.
But
I think that if it's not like if you're 5'6", you're not going to play for the NBA. You're just
No.
not. You're never going to have the size. You're never going to be good enough.
No.
But I think that even if your parents or you don't have a background in music, if you want it enough, that's a skill that you can learn. And if you apprentice with other people who are good at also teaching and you put the effort in.
Yeah, but you gotta have some core. I do. I think you gotta have some core talent.
I disagree. I think that it's a learned ability. You might not ever be as good as someone who has this innate thing, but you will be able to perform and be good and play, and whether it's for your own enjoyment.
You're right,
or,
and that used to be the norm. All the especially like last century or even the century before that, people in society. If you were a lady, you knew how to play an instrument.
Or like whole families would have every
because
kid
that
would
was
have a violin.
Entertainment, and you would somebody would play the piano and play some music, and I think that was more ubiquitous. That was a thing that people did. You learned how to play an instrument, whatever that was.
I mean, look at the Partridge Family.
Come on, get happy.
I mean, there are a lot less distractions that we have now. There's so many other things vying for
Competing
your
for
attention.
Yeah.
But some time ago, that's what you did. You would read certain authors and enough to speak to their works and learn an instrument so that you could perform at a party or
Yeah, or wherever,
whatever.
or you just wanted to entertain your family at home because there was no TV and no.
Or it was just an activity
radio.
that
Yeah,
you did.
yeah.
It's like I'm going to the pub and playing the fiddle.
Playing the fiddle, right? So
Cutting my fingers off.
stop that. Getting a few-
Hopefully not. Yeah. No banshees here.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of that stuff. I mean, I've seen videos of kids that are like
Oh yeah.
2 or 3 that go
Yeah.
up to a piano and can just start like.
That was our son.
Yeah, they're video. Yeah, I remember those videos of
He
your
just
son.
has a very innate musicality. He just knows what he wants things to sound like, knows what the sounds make, and puts them all together.
But you don't need that to enjoy
Music.
learning.
No.
To enjoy listening to music or creating it.
No, that's very true. I just think that puts you on the path more quickly. It's
But like welding. Welding's a skill. You learn how to do it.
Welding
Just because your
and-
parents welded doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you're going to have an aptitude for it.
well, your
Right.
parents might have taught you how to weld, though.
That's what I mean. It's a
Welding
learned
equipment might have been around your home, and you would just pick it up and some solder and be like, "I'm welding." now."
Right, but at no point, like at any point when Michael was little,
Yeah.
did you like have a musical? Like, did you teach him anything about music, or was it just?
I couldn't teach him. He did not want to be taught.
He didn't want to be taught.
He
And
wanted to do it by himself.
there were instruments and music around him since before he was born. Since, and when he was in the womb, and then when he was an infant, I would hold him while I'd listen to music on the computer, and he still remembers those songs. Yeah.
But you can't walk through this house without stumbling over something.
We have like 14 guitars.
We have guitars and keyboards and bongos and kalimbas and a melodica or whatever.
Sampler.
And a sampler. And there's stuff everywhere. A cello.
Do you have a didgeridoo in here?
Oh, no.
Not
My
yet.
next acquisition.
What about a theremin? I've always wanted a theremin just to play
They
around
seem
with.
cool.
I thought of you the other day because NAMM was going on, and I can't remember what it stands for. It's the North American Music
Makers.
whatever. It's a big conference that happens in Anaheim, California this year. And Stylophone. Do you know what a stylophone is?
We have one of those too.
So they've been around since the late 60s, mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
Stylophone is a little device that is battery operated. It can fit in your hand, and it has like a stylus that's attached with a wire, and there's a little strip of metal that's broken up into kind of like a keyboard.
Yeah.
And you touch the stylus has a metal tip, and you touch the points, and you can make sounds. It's like a little synthesizer. They're still around, the company, Stylophone. And this year, they were at NAMM, and they've been producing stylophones ever since then, so for decades.
They've cornered the market.
They really have. And they have 2 new instruments that they're releasing. One is like a semi-modular synth, which is actually really cool and affordable. The other thing is they're making a theremin. It's a battery-operated, tabletop, inexpensive theremin.
I know what I'm getting you for your birthday.
I mean, they're like, I think they're $119, which is cheap for a theremin compared to like Moog or other, because not many people make theremins. You can make your own, but it's cool. It looks cool. It sounds great, and
That came out?
I think it comes out next month.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get that and the Harvey picture. Okay. Just all of it.
Don't get the Harvey pic. I showed just for our listeners of the Harvey episode. I went home and I was talking to my wife about the Harvey movie and how much I loved that painting, and she immediately was like, "You better not bring that painting home."
Oh, is that why you said that?
Oh yeah, she was just like, "I'm not hanging that in this house."
Oh. Did you tell her it's too late?
I said no, I didn't. I said I would never.
No.
And
what?
I promptly texted Rachel and said, "Do not get me the Harvey painting."
You could put it like in your car.
On the top of on the roof of the car,
like a poster, like a bedroom.
It would be better if you hired someone to airbrush it onto the.
Oh, that would be
like
brilliant! Yes.
Yeah.
You could put like a wizard on the other side
and
with
Jimmy
wolves.
Stewart and Harvey.
Yep. Yep.
Harvey with a wizard hat.
Speaking of cars, looping it back around, there were 2 questions I wanted to ask before we actually watch this movie, and they are related to You're Driving Too Fast.
Oh.
But specific to cars.
Okay.
So, do you like to drive fast? In general. Like, not like in a race car, but in a normal car, on public roads. Do you tend to drive fast?
I usually do drive a little... Okay, let me back up. Conditions depending, but are we talking about like it's not raining, it's not snowing, it's nice out?
Right. It's safe.
I do like to drive a little bit above the speed limit.
Like if you're coming on an on-ramp onto the highway,
oh yeah,
and
you
it's
do this
at,
shit. Yeah,
it's at night and there's no one there.
Yeah.
Do you ever like floor it and just see?
No, I don't do that.
No. Carl?
No.
You do.
No.
All
he
the
does
time.
all kinds of bullshit in the car. Where it's like taking corners hard. I'm like, do not do this when I'm in the car. You're stressing me out.
Well, that electric car probably didn't help the situation.
That car is so fast.
I love to drive that car.
I do too.
Especially when I'm the only one in the car.
Oh my god, I don't.
I remember when you took me for a test drive. You're like, "Watch this!" I thought it was going to go back in time.
Ludicrous speed.
That was nothing. Well, I guess that kind of dovetails in. So I mean, when I drive too fast, I get yelled at.
Yeah.
By passengers.
Because
Carl, if you don't like to drive fast, I'm assuming no one yells at you when you're driving.
No.
In the car.
No.
For speeding.
Not for speeding.
And
you always bitch about something I'm doing. I'm a good driver too. And
I didn't
you're always like,
say anything.
And I'm usually the one like grabbing the oh shit handles. Like if somebody's, I won't say anything.
Do you look over? Like if you're in the back seat, will you like look at the console?
Oh, I totally will.
Sometimes.
I will. Yeah.
What are you
Sometimes,
doing?
but I won't. Like I also don't like conflict.
So
I
will
will never say like, "Hey, can you slow it down?" If it's somebody else driving, because I'd feel like that's not my place to say if somebody else is.
Because that was my other question: was if you're in the car with someone else who's driving too fast, you're the passenger. What do?
I won't say anything.
You'll just take
I'll
it.
grab the oh shit handle and tense up, but I won't say anything.
Even if you feel like it's potentially reckless? Like, what would it take for you to say something?
Oh God,
80,
it would take a
90?
lot. It would
No.
take a lot.
No, I would say something. I'd probably say it like, oh, well, what are you in a rush to get there? Or,
Yeah. I might say something
Like, whoa.
passive aggressive like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you trying to see what this guy had for breakfast? Back
Yeah.
up!" Like,
Yeah.
See, that's what drives me crazy. I don't think you, Rachel, drive too fast. I think that you get too close.
I never get too close.
You always get too
That's
close.
not true.
Because distance is time.
I
Is
know what
reaction
it is.
time.
I feel like nobody, because what is it like? Isn't it supposed to be like one car length for every 10 miles an hour or something?
I mean,
You
like,
gotta do the
bullshit.
1
Nobody
1,000,
drives that.
2 1,000.
Nobody.
Yeah.
But having like a couple of car lengths in
I
between you
do.
is, I mean, when you're not racing.
Because I don't like tailgating. I don't like it when people do it to me. I don't do it to other people. I don't.
I disagree.
This seems like one of those I don't snore discussions, and the
Yeah,
person
no,
that's
I do
witnessed
not
it is like,
do
yes,
that.
you do.
Yeah, except,
If anybody's up anyone's ass driving, it's you. You are constantly. Okay, Matthew is the most aggressive driver I have ever met.
baloney.
That's not baloney. It's true. He gets so mad, and he'll like. I swear there's going to be a road rage incident someday. You're going to be like in the newspaper.
I don't see. That's where you're wrong. I do get aggravated quickly when I drive,
Immediately.
but I want them to move. Like, I don't want to fight the person in that car. I want them to go away.
No, you play car games. There
I
are
do
card
not.
games. Okay.
Car games.
Sure. You brought this up.
Didn't you get pulled over for playing card games?
No.
Yes,
When?
you did on our first date.
Oh my God! So 30 years
Good
ago,
memory.
I
It's
remember.
true.
I played car games and I lost.
And you lost the car game, and the tickets came.
Like,
in
were
the
you?
mail.
Wasn't that the one where you slowed down when they were like
He
riding your ass?
rechecked.
So
Yeah.
here's the. Fine, I'll tell a story. Real
Tell
quick.
the story.
It's our first real date together, not with friends, just the two
A
of us.
lone date.
And I mean, we won't get into the fact that Rachel didn't know where she lived
Shut up.
to drive her
It's
home.
irrelevant.
But anyway, I'm driving down a highway that splits off into another minor artery. It's still a highway. And there is a car. It's night time, so it's beyond dusk. I can see headlights in my rearview mirror, and they're right up my ass. And I am in the left lane because the highway splits off. It's a left-hand exit. Now, this car is behind me, and they're, like I said, very close. And they start flashing their high beams at me, like flick on and off. Now, this was a thing. I don't see people doing it too much anymore, but people used to do this. They
Telling you to move.
ride
Yeah.
up to your ass and be like, get out of the way. Now,
Yeah.
as previously stated, I do not drive slow. I drive fast. So I'm not going slow. And if I'm in that lane, it's for a reason. I'm either passing something or it's a left-hand exit. So I'm like, I'm not moving. That's
Which he
ridiculous.
promptly said out loud. He's like, look at this guy.
Look at this asshole.
Flashing his eye
Well, I mean,
beams.
he's flashing his high beams. I'm doing like 80. And then does it again. I'm like, what's with this person? Well, they had another set of lights on top of the car.
Matt taps his brakes. He's like, oh yeah, you're gonna flash your
So,
eye beams at
I
me?
will.
You're
so,
impatient?
hold
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
I'm like, back off. So I did not step on my brakes and slow down.
No, you just tap.
I tapped
Yeah.
the pedal to make the lights come on.
To try to get the
flashing them
person to back off.
Yeah.
Just like they're flashing their high beams at me. So this wasn't like I was purposefully slowing down, trying to cause a collision or anything. It's just like, hey, back off. So obviously, you know now, as a police officer, they turn their lights on and they pull me over. I'm like, what the F? I am on my first date. This would have pissed me off anyway, and now we're dealing with this. And it's a state trooper. So,
And boy, is he mad.
oh, he is angry.
Well, because he obviously
So
had somewhere
bad.
where he was trying to get
Which
to.
he should have just done.
So we had a conversation about
But
it.
yeah, why wouldn't he just flash his lights to get you to
That's what I
move
said.
lanes?
He's like, what are you doing? You're trying to cause an accident? I was like, what are you doing? I said, he's like, I was trying to respond to a call. I said, you could have put your lights on. I said, I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
And he's going back and forth with me.
The cop was so mad. He was like shouting.
And he's like, I gotta go. Your tickets are in the mail. And me being an asshole, I was like, tickets? He's like, yeah, tickets! I gotta go. Bye.
He
said bye. 2 years
Yep.
later, I get a summons in the mail to show up in traffic tribunal.
And he did.
And I did.
What were
the
the
cop
charges?
So
So you never got actual tickets?
I never got
No,
a ticket.
no
I
tickets.
just got a summons. And it wasn't for speeding. It
No.
wasn't for anything. It was for failure to use a turn signal.
Yeah.
Because the cop said I didn't use my turn signal when I pulled off the highway, which I did. And do care by driver.
Yeah.
So is that just like conscientious driving?
I don't know.
I guess.
It's whatever they decide it is.
Yeah.
So I show up for my court date, and the police officer does too, because that's their job. Like, an officer's never not going to show up. It's extremely rare that happens. They're paid to do that, so they're going to show up in court. And a judge isn't going to believe some 18, 19-year-old, even though, like, I'm there representing myself. This is a court, even though it's just traffic court. And I explained the situation, and he threw out my explanation, dismissed the failure to use a turn signal charge, and charged me with the due care thing.
By driver.
It was like $100 or something. So yeah,
That was fun.
that was ridiculous.
So but you didn't
frustrated.
learn any lessons. No
None.
lessons were
There were no
learned.
lessons to learn.
No.
Other than you will never win an argument against a police officer
That's right.
in a court
In
of
a court
law.
of law. That's
Because despite you having your say, the judge will shut you down. They will believe a police officer
That's
over
right.
you. And that's
The end.
Well, I
It
wonder-
doesn't matter if they're telling the truth or not.
No.
But what I mean, now you got to think they've got dash cams and everything.
Yeah.
Like they could theoretically use video.
Who does?
The cop.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Incriminate themselves with it?
Wouldn't the court ask for the video footage?
Wasn't working at the time. Same thing as what they do with body cams.
Yeah, it's off right
All
now.
the time. And if I had a dash cam, I'm
You
sure
could
I
use
couldn't. Yeah, but it's going the wrong way.
You know,
Right.
unless you had a rear dash cam.
Yeah.
They probably make
Anyway,
those. All right, well let's
So lots of things.
Let's whiplash this.
Where are we watching this?
on the TV,
But where?
on Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah. It's available use the internet and find it. We're watching it on Netflix. It's available other places, I'm sure.
Right.
Dinner. We had a delicious roast.
We had a roast
with some rice,
and rice and Brussels sprouts.
which I had none of, and a salad that
salad.
Rachel
I
was
didn't
not
like-
very impressed with.
No, I didn't like the dressing, but
It was
that's
okay.
okay. And we have those fudgesicle bars for dessert again.
Sounds
Kind
good.
of a low key, nothing.
They're not
Nothing
like themesicle bars.
Themesicles.
Okay.
All right, well, let's
watch
whiplash.
this Whiplash drums.
Go.
All right, we're back. We've
back.
been whiplashed.
Jazz hand.
Hands are bleeding everywhere.
There's blood and sweat just flying all over the
Broken
place.
drumsticks, broken drum
A lot of
heads,
shouting and slapping,
screaming.
Broken
Screaming.
dreams, but then they come back.
sort of.
For everyone,
Maybe.
kind of.
Yeah.
All right, what do you guys think overall?
I still need to think about this movie. Some parts of this movie puzzled me. Like, I'm
Okay.
still trying to figure out what the movie was saying and then how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Because, well, that's all I got to say about that right this second.
Okay, Forrest.
I know.
That's all I'm going to say about
Say
that.
about that. Carl?
Carl, yeah.
I liked it. I mean, I can see where Rachel's coming from. I'm very conflicted.
Yeah, me too.
But ultimately, was it a good movie? Yes, I think it was a very good movie. I think it was very well acted. But I
Yeah.
mean, we can talk about why we're
Yeah.
conflicted. Obviously,
Yeah, so brief synopsis. This kid
Spoiler
Andrew...
alert.
Oh, fucking hell. This whole podcast is about movies.
Stop.
We
Just
literally
let me say it.
talk about
Can you
stuff,
just let me say it?
watch a movie,
I'm
and
gonna
then
keep
talk
saying
about
it.
the movie.
I will be saying it.
It's just, this is...
Spoiler alert. I lost
Andrew
my
is a
ring.
first-year student at this prestigious conservatory.
Conservatory.
Schaefer, which I don't think exists.
No, I don't think so either. Even the city, like, you think it's New York City, but it's kind of a fictional
No.
They don't really say.
They say exactly. It's New York City.
Oh, they do?
They are
Yeah.
in New York
He
City.
even said at the beginning of that performance, like, these are the best musicians in New
In
York.
New York City. Like, they say New York several times.
I totally missed
throughout the
that.
movie. This is why I don't trust your opinion sometimes.
The Statue of
opinion is
Liberty
valid.
showed up.
Yeah.
It did?
No.
No.
I was going to say, I didn't see that.
Like Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
No.
Get out of here.
So he idolizes Buddy Rich. He grew
Right.
up playing the drums, loving the drums, wanting to be like this was his lifelong dream to get into this conservatory
And be a drummer.
and be a professional drummer. This
Yeah.
is what he wants. And this guy, Terrence Fletcher,
Yep.
is this super well regarded for whatever reason professor at Schaefer. He seems like he has a lot of pull in the university. What he
Yeah.
says goes,
Yeah.
and everyone's vying to be in his band.
And everyone, faculty defers to him.
He storms into other rooms in
Yeah.
the middle of their lessons.
Yeah,
And
he's like the Dumbledore of Schaefer.
Yeah, but like a
Schaefer
jerk
Conservatory.
Dumbledore.
He's the
Yeah.
Dumble jerk.
more of
Yeah.
a Lucius Malfoy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
So
can teach at Hogwarts. Come on, Carl.
he hears Andrew practicing, and the meeting doesn't seem to go well, but eventually that leads to him inviting Andrew into his band
Yeah.
to give him a shot.
This is the studio band that performs and represents
The school.
the conservatory.
Yeah, and they go into like very high profile competitions and everything. Like
It's elite.
it's elite.
It's
The
an elite.
reputation of the conservatory is kind of staked every time they go out and
Right.
compete. They need
That's
to-
important.
They need to win. And this guy is an asshole. He is emotionally, verbally, physically abusive
Yeah.
to his students, and you can see it. You can see it in their faces, in the way that they perform. He is like this dark shadow overlord that walks into the room, and like the life gets sucked out of everyone. They perform well
But out of fear.
out of fear.
Right. And there's no upside. You know, sometimes abusive people will be negative and angry and whatever, and then it's almost the honeymoon phase, like, I'm sorry, or you did a great job, or I care about you guys. There was none of that.
No.
It was literally just, you all suck, you're all terrible, you all could go at any minute, none of you are fit to do this, try harder.
Yeah.
All the time.
There's no good cop, bad cop. It's
No.
bad cop
All the time. Which is,
And not only is he abusive like that, where, I mean, I guess this is still abuse. He plays mind games
yeah.
with all these people,
Yeah.
making people who he'll give a spot to, he'll take it away and then make them earn it back or vie for it. Or
Yeah, like in the beginning, he's talking to the what's the boy's name?
Andrew.
Andrew. He's talking to Andrew, and kind of pretending to be casual and cool, and asking
Yeah.
him, "Oh, are there any musicians in your family?" And he kind of opens up to him a little bit, like, "No, my dad is a writer." "Oh, what kind of writer?" "Well, he's really a teacher, a professor in high school." And, "Oh, what about your mom?" "Oh, my mom left. Like, I don't know my mom." You know, just trying to open
Yeah.
up. And then they all go back into the studio, and he uses that against him. Mm-hmm. Basically,
He weaponizes
saying
that
really
information.
hurtful things. Yeah, like, your mom left, and your dad's a loser. And it's like, whoa. Makes him cry.
Yeah. And then makes fun of him for that.
Yeah, yeah. So,
he tries to emotionally break down these people, and ultimately it's, from what he says, it's to push people beyond their limits. It's so that someone who is as dedicated as this kid Andrew is needs this push, just like a coach would do to a sports ball team, or
Sports ball player.
or I mean, that's the best example I could think of. But a coach is someone who's going to push you hard and make you want to extend yourself beyond your limits, not by breaking you down and degrading you. I mean, that's part of it sometimes, but there needs to be a constructive side to that.
Always a constructive side, even when it's criticism. Even as a musician, it's like, you played that wrong. That's not on tempo. That's not in tune. That's okay to say, but to just like, and
to call someone out for it in front of their peers.
Yeah, it's just not right.
It gives that person accountability. You're part of a team.
Yeah,
An
but you gotta
orchestra,
do it.
A band is a team.
Yes.
And you need to be a part of it, and you can't drag the team down.
No. But like he keeps Fletcher, the professor, the teacher, keeps talking about this incident with Charlie Parker. And
Yes.
Charlie Parker, this is his whole MO comes from this one scenario where Charlie Parker went on stage and he was new and he was young and he was really nervous and he didn't play very well. And some other jazz person, I don't know who he was, threw a cymbal at his head. And Charlie Parker was humiliated and really upset, and that incident affected him to the point where he's like, I'm not going to let this, no one will ever laugh at me and throw a cymbal at my head again. And he practiced every day and became the musical genius. You know, and a year later he gets back on the same stage and he's amazing. And you know, the Fletcher's trying to explain, that's my philosophy. You need to be pushed and you need to be embarrassed and humiliated, and no one should ever say the words good job. That's the good job is the worst phrase ever made, because then you're complacent. And a kernel of that is true.
He has a point.
No, a kernel of it is true, where you do need to be challenged. Sometimes you will suffer embarrassment. Like, those are all things that help you grow. But those are, to me, those are not the only things that help you grow.
Of course.
You need encouragement.
There's a balance.
There really is. And this guy didn't have
Well,
it.
and in the film, that it should have come up more, I think. But there
Yeah.
was one moment where later on Andrew confronts Terrence.
Terrence.
Is it Terrence?
Terrence Fletcher.
Okay.
Terrence.
Just call him Terry.
It's because there's another kid, Tanner, who plays the drums.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I keep messing it up.
Yeah.
Andrew confronts him about it and says, yeah, but where's that line?
Yeah.
And, I know... I just wish they would have explored that a little more in the film through those characters,
Right.
rather than leaving it up. Because it's like, you already know that watching the film. It's like, I get where this guy's coming from to a point, but he is so far over the line that he's taking the spirit out of the people that he's trying to encourage.
Right.
Like, they're not doing it because they enjoy it. Like, they're not doing it for them. Like, they're doing it for him.
Well...
They're doing it to burnish his reputation. And he even said, he goes, I've been hoping for my own Charlie Parker, but
Yeah.
I've never had one. And you kind of want to shout at the TV, that's because you're an asshole. You're never going to get a Charlie Parker.
Right.
That's, you don't mentor people in a productive way.
But at the same time, these people who keep coming to him, despite how abusive and vile, frankly, he is, are using his reputation to further their own careers. That's
right.
why they're there. That's why they tolerate it.
Yeah.
And they know that, yes, people have been made better through his teaching, but it's like you suffer through it just to be there, just to be associated with him, to get the opportunities that provides
And that's weird, too.
as a musician.
But at what cost?
Well, right,
You know, it's
exactly,
like,
yeah.
You see that, Andrew seemed like a fairly reasonable, nice kid.
Yeah,
There's a girl he meets at a movie theater
Yeah.
that he's interested in, and he gets the courage up to ask her out, and they seem to be getting along. But then as the pressure gets more and more piled on him,
Yeah.
he starts becoming an asshole.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
does.
going to be great. I'm going to be the best drummer ever.
And you're gonna bring me
And
down,
You're
and
going to
I'm-
bring me down. I have no time in my life for you.
Now, okay, all of those things are true, and that is making him less of a good person.
I mean, he's honest, I guess,
He's honest, but here, so the final scenes in the film are ultimately, like, there plenty of other things happen. Like, there's a whole, a student ended up dying.
Committing suicide.
Well, we don't find that out until later,
Right.
Because Terrence mentions this. He's upset when he comes into class one day, and he plays a song, and he tells this whole story about what you're hearing is a student of his that eventually made it big.
Well, and that was the first, like, crack in his veneer.
Yeah.
Like, that scene was, like, the first, like, humanizing
But he
scene.
lies. But
Yeah,
he,
that's
in
the
that
problem.
scene,
Yeah.
he lies. He says that he was hit by a car.
He got in a car accident.
and died. And we find out later that's not true. He suffered from this. The kid suffered from anxiety that was made worse. Anxiety and depression, I guess, that was made worse when he was a student at the school, and he hung himself. That's why he's dead.
Right.
Not because he got into a car accident.
So he must have felt responsible to a certain extent.
I would think so. I would hope so.
I mean, I would assume that's why he was so upset about it.
But
I don't know.
I wanted to see more of like how did this guy get like this?
Yeah.
You know, like
I think he's a narcissist.
Yes, I think so too.
He loves himself and is caught up in his own bullshit and his own ideas of how to get excellence out of people.
And he does push people. Like this kid Andrew, he gets hit by a truck on the way to a performance that he fought to get a position in. And he crawls out of the car and runs
covered in
to
blood,
the performance.
covered in blood, all messed up.
And he is still allowed to play. No one asks him at all what happened to him.
Right.
And then B, yeah, he got hit by a truck, so he's not playing so great. No one cares about why, and he gets called out for it and basically kicked out of the band.
Right. It just, I don't know.
But ultimately, and here's my question, and this is why I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
I know where you're going with this.
At the end of the film, Terrence gets dismissed from the school.
But you have to explain why.
Well, because there's a lawsuit, and because of this kid from the kid's family who committed suicide. And Andrew was asked to anonymously testify.
Wait, let me
to give testimony.
Yeah, but let's back up, because when Andrew gets hit by the truck, comes in to perform and fails because he just got hit by a truck, Terrence says to him, that's it, you're out.
You're done.
Yeah,
and he loses it, rightfully
That's right.
so,
I forgot.
and assaults him.
Yeah, he tackles
in front of
Fletcher.
everybody, in front of the band, in front of the audience, in
Yeah.
front of everything. And that leads to his dismissal from the school. And then
Andrew's dismissal from the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
After that, a lawyer approaches Andrew and his father and says, hey, this guy seems like he was abusive to you. You know, here's this other kid that committed suicide, and we feel like a lot of Terrence's behaviors led to his feeling the way he did and committing suicide. So would you testify that you also suffered the same kind of thing? And Andrew really thought about it and was like, I'm not sure. But then he's like, will it be anonymous? And they said yes. So he said, okay, I will.
Yeah.
And that ends up getting Terrence fired or let go.
Yeah, so they're both separated from the school now.
Right.
And eventually, it's the summertime, and Andrew's out and about, and he sees a jazz club, and he sees that Terrence is playing at the club. And he goes in, and they end up seeing... Andrew doesn't want to be seen by Terrence, but he can't help but peek in and see what's going on. They see each other, and then they have a conversation. They sit down, they have drinks, and at the end of it, Andrew gets invited to play in this competition, this JV or performance, JVC, whatever, jazz thing. And
right there, I would have said no.
But he said, yeah, he wants to play the drums. When he's removed from school, he kind of gives up on his dream.
I know.
We see him bag up all of his stuff.
Right. Puts the drums in the closet.
Goes crawling back to the girlfriend who's got a new boyfriend.
Yeah, and you know he's crushed. His dream is now seemingly out of reach.
He's working in a deli.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that he has this opportunity, he jumps on it. And, you know, I was going to say who wouldn't. Now,
I wouldn't.
I guess it depends on the scenario. If that's your dream, if that's your if that's something that can get you back and involved.
Yeah, but how can you trust this guy?
You can't.
Right. That's where I was with that.
Yeah.
Like, why would you get back in bed with this guy
However,
after everything that happened?
We are older and have
That's
life
true.
experience.
Yeah.
This kid is 20 when this happens, and it's his dream. That's what he wanted forever, and so I can understand this character doing this.
Yeah.
In this situation. So anyway, he goes to the thing, and Terrence seems to be like nice,
Normal.
Yeah.
normal now that he's removed from the environment of the school. Maybe he is different. Maybe he has changed. And he had told Andrew previously that what they were going to be performing were these songs that they had been practicing from the old band at the school.
Right.
So Andrew knew all of them. Well, he shows up. Everyone's on stage. The band's all set. Everyone's ready to go. And Terrence walks over to Andrew and tells him, "I know it was you." He had his Fredo moment. He's like,
I know it was you, Fredo.
I know it was you. You broke my heart.
Yeah.
He says, "I know it was you that testified."
Yeah.
And what he does is he goes and he addresses the audience as saying, "We're going to play this
Other song.
new number
Yeah.
that everyone else knows and has been cued in on."
And has the music for
and
it.
has the music for it.
Except for Andrew.
Andrew has none of it. And the song is nuts. It's this crazy
The time changes
signature
are just nuts.
It's crazy. So to try to improvise, even no matter how good you are, it's not
You're
going to
gonna
happen.
sound like an idiot.
And
he does.
he does that on purpose because before they all went on, he says, these are the types of shows where if you're good, it can make your career. If you're bad, it can end your
People don't
your
forget.
profession.
Yeah.
People, these people don't forget. And we come to find out through his actions that he wants to ruin Andrew's chances. He wants to bury this kid.
He feels that kid ruined him. You know, like it's quid pro quo.
Yeah.
So he's out for vengeance. And seemingly he gets his revenge. Andrew sounds terrible. When the song ends, the audience barely claps at first.
It's like a polite clap.
Yeah, like
it's like, wow, okay. And Andrew walks out.
Yeah.
To his dad. And he sees his dad. And they have kind of a moment.
Yeah.
And instead of leaving, Andrew turns around and goes back out on stage.
Yeah.
And just starts playing the drums.
Yeah, which is kind of weird at first, but then he tells the bassist, "I'm going to cue you in. We're going to play this song."
But Terrence comes over. He's like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. He's like, Andrew's now ruining his performance, his chances. And he does. He cues in the bassist, and they play
a jazz song.
Caravan.
Yes.
And it's the best. And they play that song several times throughout the course of the film, and it's the best take that you've heard them play.
Yeah, and then he's got this like big long drum solo where it just features him, and then again Terrence comes over and he's like, now you could tell he's like into it. He's like, "Oh, you're doing a good job."
Well, first he comes over and says like, "What are you doing again?"
Yeah.
And then Andrew says, "I'll cue you in."
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because at that point, it's like it's the leadership has changed.
That's right.
almost.
The whole
Like,
dynamic changes.
I'm playing for me now. Like
That's
I'm not
right.
playing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works. The band sounds great. They are cued off of the drums, and
Fletcher looks impressed.
but Fletcher made a comment earlier on in the film, like anyone can be a conductor. He's just an idiot up there waving his arms around. I'm there to push people past their limits to get the most out of them. And when Andrew in this finale scene comes up, he's at his peak, and now Fletcher is an idiot up there waving his arms. He's unnecessary.
He's not unnecessary though, because if it wasn't for him and what he did.
No. I mean, in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Right, they're not
Yeah.
even looking at him.
Right.
The
moment.
band.
The band's not even looking at him.
That's right.
They don't need him.
No.
And Andrew's really driving, and you can tell that he's inspiring the band.
Right.
And ultimately, that song ends. He still has a crazy drum solo, and they go into Whiplash, the song Whiplash, and the film ends.
Right.
There. Now, to your point, yes, 100% Fletcher was necessary. You hate him through the film. His methods are terrible. He causes some kid to commit suicide.
Yeah.
He got fired from the school because of it. He caused Andrew to be expelled, basically, because he drove him to the point where he's going to assault somebody. But would he ever have gotten to that point and played as well and gotten as good without Fletcher's involvement in his life.
Antagonism.
Right. That's
Kind of antagonism.
That's where the conflict is. It's like,
Yeah.
did it work?
Yeah.
Because like he almost did it out of spite at that point.
It doesn't matter.
Like, screw this guy. I'm just gonna go out there and nail it.
Well, that's what
And-
Charlie Parker did.
Right.
Exactly. And Fletcher would claim that's the point where he was trying to get Andrew.
I don't
Now,
I don't agree with it.
I don't either because,
don't.
first of all, from Fletcher's point or from someone else's perspective looking at Fletcher, he can't lose because
Right.
if they give up or fail,
That's
well,
on them.
that's on them.
Yeah.
And if they succeed, I get to take the credit for it because
Exactly.
I'm the one who put them in that
Yep.
position.
That's right.
But how much of that is real and how much of it is bullshit? It's hard to say, I think. Because you need external forces acting on you. You're going to be better, no matter what it is, when you have someone there, like a master and an apprentice, or a coach in a team. Or
Yeah, but you have
a
to
tutor.
want it internally. You can have
Oh.
external drivers.
You wouldn't be there if you didn't want it in the first place.
and those external drivers can help you to achieve new heights, but you have to do it. You have to do it. So yes, it's a relationship, but I just don't think that this man's philosophy of it, all that negativity is correct. I don't think
it's healthy.
there's too much other collateral damage, other problems that arise. You know, like the rest of his life is shattered. But he could play the drums real good.
But that's all he wanted.
No, that wasn't all he wanted. That wasn't all he wanted until he met Terrence Fletcher, and Terrence Fletcher influenced him to be like,
Well,
you have to be the
okay.
best
Yeah, but
ever.
could you also... The girl in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Nicole.
Yeah.
He only got the courage to ask her out once he got the acceptance from Fletcher. Once he got added to the core band,
Yeah,
then he had the courage to go ask
sure.
her
And
out.
that, honestly, that's probably the only positive thing that happens. You know what I
That's
mean?
not true. It's the positive parts don't outweigh the negatives, but that is not the only positive thing that happened. He did push Andrew to the best he can be. And I don't know that Andrew would have been playing at that level had he not been pushed like that. And in reality, he narrowed Andrew's focus to the point where he did cut out all the things that were not
Distractions.
related to his goal. Yes, distractions. What a normal person would call a full life.
I think that's
or
where I'm
well-rounded
having.
existence.
I think that's where I'm having the hard time.
But okay, let's make a comparison to like an Olympic athlete,
Yeah.
someone who's not part of a team where it's very individual.
Right.
Okay, like you're a high jumper. Only you're out there doing it.
Right.
You know. When you do that, when you try to be the best. Now, they're saying that they're in New York. There's some of the best musicians in New York, which means that they're some of the best musicians in the world.
Right.
So that's why I try to draw a parallel to the Olympics. These are supposed to be the best athletes, period.
Right.
The dedication that it takes to get to that level,
You have to forego
just to
everything
compete.
else. Yeah.
And not only to compete, but now you're in that elite group, and now you need to be the best
Right.
in that elite group for
That's
a
a
very
whole-
short period of time.
It's a whole new world.
That's all you do.
Right. Ugh.
But that's where Fletcher brought Andrew.
Well, I
To
guess
that
if
point.
Andrew wants to be there, then good for them. You know, like
It's conflicting because you don't want that to be the way the path to success.
I don't think it has to be. I think it's one way.
No, it's not the only way. Of course
Way.
not. But it's an interesting story about that path.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it was filmed really well. Even if you don't like jazz, if you like music at all and
good
you like the
music.
drums, the music's good and it's filmed really well in terms of getting you into it. I mean, it's an almost 2-hour film about drums and
Yeah.
and drive and pushing. And for me, I was engaged the whole time.
Yeah.
If you like Mad About You, Paul Reiser
Paul
is in
Reiser's
it.
in this. He plays the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the dad. I wanted to spend more time with him.
He was
He's my
part of
speed.
dragging Andrew down. He's
dragging him down. He's just being a dad.
He's not inspiring. He's wishy-washy. He's the good job guy.
Yeah, but it's like, that scene at the dinner table were those siblings?
I think
were
it
those
was like
I don't know.
cousins?
It seemed like cousins. It did. It
Like,
seemed like family.
Because we're like
Andrew,
the guy from Twin Peaks who plays
Hank of Twin Peaks
was in this. He makes a cameo for like 5 minutes.
There's a family dinner scene.
Yeah.
But is he the brother?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah,
but
Something like that.
It's so like I think those were his kids, but there's a bunch of peers of Andrew from an age standpoint in the family, and one of them plays football, I think.
One's Model UN.
Yeah,
right. And so they're their father is bragging about what their accomplishments, and Andrew just turns into a prick with them, and it just
he turns into Terrence.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's again, is the cost worth it? Like, yeah, you were pushed to your limit and exceeded your limits to play the drums, but now you're an asshole? Like, I don't know if it's worth it. But maybe obviously it's worth it for him.
If it's worth it to him.
Like, that's what he wants,
Well,
but it's just like...
he's not necessarily permanently an asshole. I mean, through that journey that he was on to that point, you're not always on that journey. It's like a transformation, right?
So now he's a butterfly.
Well, kind of, yeah.
A beautiful butterfly.
That
a
doesn't
drumming
mean
butterfly.
you have to continue to go through that metamorphosis. It's, there's a lot of pressure. And I think just like the Olympic athlete comparison, you have such a narrow focus. You're focused on exactly what you're doing. You think that what you're doing is the most important thing. And anyone else who's not performing at your level, even if it's in a totally different thing,
Forget it.
it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's like, oh yeah, you're Division III football.
But you know what? I think that's the sacrifice. So anytime that you're going to an extreme like that, like you're the best at something or you're striving to be the best at sports ball or music or whatever, you're going to lose other parts of your life.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay. And that's the sad part, I think, with younger people, younger Olympic athletes and younger musicians, because then it's more the parents.
Well, look at the gymnasts, like what they put their bodies through, and at such a young age.
Gymnast, figure skating.
But you have that is your whole, you eat, sleep, and breathe whatever that skill you have that you're honing is.
Yeah.
And that's it. To the detriment.
Sacrifice everything else.
You're not,
that's what, it's lonely at the top, right?
That
expression didn't come from nowhere.
It is. And some people get a lot of satisfaction out of it, and fine, so be it. Somebody's got to be the best. But I guess it's just, I don't relate to that. I understand it.
No, and I admire it to a degree, but from afar. I would never want to be...
it's like you do that.
In that
Good
scenario.
for you.
It's like, I think it's amazing what people are capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not capable of that, nor would I want to try to, pursue those things to that
thanks.
level. That's not who I am.
No.
But some people are. So I don't know.
Very few.
Yeah.
And that's, well,
Well, that's I think that's part of the problem, in that most of the kids that went through this guy's classes, I don't think had the capability to get to the point that he wanted them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just,
so they're just suffering.
now they're just being abused.
Torrents of abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I understand what the movie was saying to me and presenting and these arguments, and that yes, you need to be pushed and challenged and face some hardship. But I don't know, this guy was he was such a caricature. He was so over the top. It's like, well, okay.
I can see there being people like that out there, though.
There are people like that out there, and they love themselves, and they think they're great. There are, like, believe me, there are doctors out there that are like that. Ugh.
But I think that's what makes this a compelling, interesting story, is that you can see the path that this Andrew kid goes on, and you hate this person who is basically making him be the best that he can be through the worst methods possible.
Yeah.
But it worked in this scenario.
I know.
I don't know.
I hate that it worked.
I think it would be a much less interesting story if this guy wasn't who he was and didn't push people in that way.
Yeah,
it would be interesting.
He had to be a caricature. It had to be the extreme.
Yeah.
To me.
Now, I don't know if this is based off of anything
I don't think so.
real or not.
Based
It's a
off of
psychological
Clemens.
drama written and directed by... Oh, okay. So it was written and directed by Damien Chazelle.
I love that name, Shazam.
I don't know. It's on Wikipedia. Look it up.
All right, whatever. It's okay.
It's based on the script, the story that
Based on a story that somebody made up.
that the director wrote.
Mr. Chazelle.
And I guess it did well in the box office.
Did it?
Yeah.
Won a bunch of awards too. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
that the Fletcher there, J.K. Simmons, won awards for
Yeah. He was,
Yeah.
that. He was good.
he was funny in a very mean way.
Yeah. And I don't know if the actor who portrayed Andrew actually plays the
No,
drums.
he doesn't. I read that.
Oh,
he had to
really?
kind of learn, and there was a lot of camera trickery and
Well, the film does a good job
Yeah.
making it seem like he
Yep.
can really play the drums.
that he really hurt his hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little blisters.
So I don't know. I enjoyed it.
It was
quite a
interesting.
bit.
I would never. This is an MRT pick because I would never watch this movie on my own.
No, I know our daughter wants to see it.
I know. I don't know.
I would watch it with her.
Yeah, you watch it with her. I don't know. I'm interested to see if she likes it.
Would your mom's like it?
No.
My mom might like it.
Yeah, my mom might.
Yeah. My mom might like it.
Now, why? Why? Like, I say no because...
You always say no.
Well, I
You
just don't
your
think
mom
she'd
likes
be
it.
interested in it. Although, it's still a compelling story, but I think
Yeah.
that the world in which it's told, like the world of music and play, like, I don't think it would appeal to
Well,
her.
I think it would appeal to my mother because she
For
is
that
a
exact
musician.
reason,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's how she, her whole life.
Well, it's human drama. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, if you take the
definitely.
music out of it, like, it kind of reminded me at some points of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right. He is
absolutely.
like
Where
he is
it's-
like a drill sergeant.
And obviously the recipients of the abuse reacted in very different ways, but
Yeah.
not really.
One did commit suicide.
Right? And I mean,
Yeah.
they each assaulted their respective abusers at a certain point.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
a certain
But
extent.
he did get them prepared for war.
Yeah. So it's music aside,
That's a good
it's,
comparison.
No, that's true.
there are good themes. There are common themes in
Yeah.
there that
It's a good comparison.
For sure. No, that's actually perfect for a comparison because he's a drill instructor. He's a drill sergeant.
He's a sergeant.
And that
yeah.
his job is the same. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, I gotta whip you into
I
shape.
want the best out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he takes that approach, which is fine in the military, even expected.
You know why? Because in the military, the difference is that the presumption is that you're going into war, and if you don't fall into line and you don't have discipline and you aren't one cohesive team, you'll die.
Right, it's literally life or death.
But it's the same.
It's the same, but the stakes are.
Of course, the
aren't as
stakes are
high.
different. But if that's your dream, if that's your
Right.
career, if that's
It is,
everything,
Yeah.
then it is the same
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
You know, not literally,
Right.
obviously,
Figuratively.
but figuratively.
Figuratively.
it's the same, yeah. So,
Interesting.
are you guys gonna rate this?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. Again, it's not a movie I would choose to watch. I like that. Like, I didn't think I would like it going in. I think it has some compelling ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the acting was good, but I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 blistered fingers.
Okay.
I'll go a little higher. I'll give it 3.5 streeps.
Okay.
I have to, it's when I watch movies like this, and I think we kind of talk about it sometimes, where it's like, why would he do that? And I'm looking at it from, like, my perspective. Like, I wouldn't do that. But looking at it just as, like Matt said, this is a 20-year-old kid that all he's
Yeah.
ever wanted to do was play the drums. So it's just, I could see why he did it. So I have to remove myself sometimes
Yeah, yeah.
when I'm trying to think about movies like this.
Or anything, right? Everyone is their own universe. You never know how things look through someone else's eyes. And
Isn't that the butthole surfer?
It sure is.
You never know just how you feel through other people's
how you
eyes.
look through
how
other
you look.
people's
What I
eyes.
think.
But it's, true.
Yeah.
I think that there's a kernel of brilliance behind that line. Is because everything that you see and hear and think about is de facto your perspective. You can try to see things from someone else's perspective, but it's not
It's only going to go so
possible.
far.
You can't take on someone else's entire background, which is how they got to that point in time to perceive something.
But a successful
that
movie
way.
or book or TV show or whatever medium will do a good job, because you need to understand characters' motivation.
Yeah, but I don't think there was anything in this movie that didn't make sense based on what was set up with the characters.
No,
Right.
not
Yes.
at all.
Yeah. Right.
It did make sense. It was frustrating,
It
but
was.
it made sense.
Like, why would you go back to that guy after everything you... But it's because that's all you ever wanted to do.
Yeah. Plus, it's engaging. It's like you're quite. It's like, oh my god, it's like a horror movie. Oh my god, don't go in there. Why would you do that?
Right.
But that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
I really like.
Solid movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
makes you want to listen to more jazz.
Oh God, I'm not a jazz girl. Jazz.
That's okay.
Jazz hits a point and it just starts like noodling around, and I totally check out. I'm like, I can't deal with this.
It's not for everyone.
No, it's not. It's okay. Cool with that.
And I can't listen to it all the time, but I do listen to a surprising amount of it now that I think of it.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Like Zadok released John Zorn's entire catalog on Spotify. Now, I've listened to him for years, and I don't love everything that he's done, but I like the fact that he hops genres all the time.
I like Masada.
A lot of times in the same song. Now, Masada is probably my favorite
John Zorn thing.
I was trying to think of the right word for it.
Thing.
Incarnation.
Yeah.
Of John Zorn, because he does play with different sets of musicians for different projects. And Masada's fantastic. It's a little more normal.
Yeah, I think that's why I like it.
But sometimes, I don't know. It's crazy. You can listen to 5 different albums, and it's like you listen to 5 different bands in 5 different genres.
Yeah.
Of music.
John Zorn.
But they're
Plus
all
his
there
name's
now.
cool.
So what I do is I take a block of 5 albums at a time, and I listen to the 5, and then I take a break, and then I put the next 5 in, and I'll listen to it. Because he has over, like, I don't know. I mean, just on Spotify, it's like 70 albums,
he's
I
very
think,
prolific.
or maybe 115. I can't remember. It's a lot.
All right. John Zorn.
But yeah.
A plug for John Zorn.
Good stuff. And all the musicians that play with him.
At all.
So anyway.
All right.
Who's on deck? You're
me.
on deck.
Don't ask. You know the answer.
Who's on first?
What's on
Yeah,
deck?
but the order is kind of different since we've been switching
come
over.
on.
It's the same. It's just that we
Same.
start
It's just
on a
start
different.
different. I don't know what I'm going to pick. I have
there is only 3 of
I have 0.0 you're driving too fast contenders.
You're not going to try to force the original Fast and Furious on me?
I might.
Please don't.
Don't test me.
It's my job to test you, to push you.
Oh, get out of
To
here.
push you farther to pick the best
I'll just
movie.
leave.
No, but you'll come back.
No.
And you'll pick
You're
even
like,
harder.
screw that guy. I'm going to pick the best MRT pick
Best
ever.
movie ever.
In spite of him.
Just don't say fuck you. All right, we gotta go. I need to leave.
You need to
I'm
leave.
stressed out.
Wow.
You're in your house.
I feel stressed.
This
I have
movie will
whiplash.
stress you out.
It's intense.
It is
It's
intense.
very stressful.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
A lot of yelling.
There's a lot of yelling
Yeah, be prepared for that.
and drumming.
And drumming.
And drumming.
Obviously.
Drum yelling. All right, well, let's go
Calm
do
ourselves.
something calming and relaxing and soothing.
Like go to bed.
Like go to bed. That sounds great. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
See you next week. Listen to you next week. Oops.
No, they listen to us. Goodbye.